Hi, it's Ileana. So today we're going to look at the various types of orbs and spheres that exist and the intelligent guidance of orbs and spheres visiting the Earth. Orbs and spheres can have sentient, living spiritual beings that are traveling inside them, or they can be guided by the higher consciousness of those beings to visit, explore, and travel on different planets like Earth. As well, the orbs and spheres could be like monitoring probes. They don't necessarily have to have sentient beings inside them. They could be guided by different sentient beings, but they're not necessarily always inside the orbs and spheres. So it could have a varied purpose of whether the beings are in the orbs or not, whether it's just a scout sphere, a scout orb, or some beings have the higher energetic frequency capacity to put their life force energy, their soul frequency, inside orbs or spheres and make themselves bigger and smaller. And that's how they travel around in the universe with visiting the different planets. So there's variations of what those spheres and orbs could mean. Some of the spheres and orbs are more plasma type, plasmatic. So when you see them, it has this plasma effect that you're seeing, and there's no translucence. So, or on the other spectrum, there are orbs and spheres that are translucent and clear, or they may look like they have frequencies and energies spinning, like the rainbow within the orb. It might look like a soap bubble. What you see visually and what you photograph can look like a soap bubble, but there's nobody blowing bubbles, like literally nobody around you. And it's a orb that is very translucent, clear, with some color in it or pure white. It can appear like glass. So there's variations of what you can see with the visual eye and what you're photographing, taking a picture of. The orbs and spheres have been noticed flying in the forests, above in the skies, and above the waters on Earth. These orbs and spheres can be translucent clear, or they can have a type of a rainbow pattern around them with colors inside the objects or plasma-like. Both orbs and spheres have energetic frequencies with intelligences that can choose to visit planetary bodies to see how living beings are evolving in terms of their evolutionary processes and advancements in higher consciousness awareness. Some orbs and spheres have been noticed to come out from larger mothership crafts or scout ships of extraterrestrials that monitor the planetary cycles of what happens here on Earth, just to make sure we're balanced. There's a cohesive frequency of the planet being on the right trajectory, and that can happen. It depends on what's going on. The extraterrestrials are interested in us and what we're doing. So this is the spectrum of the orbs I've been seeing around my house for quite a bit. The orb starts out being clear, like glass, and then as it moves above or in the tree line, it starts to morph in color frequency, and it gets more color. It gets like a rainbow. I've seen the brightness of it expand or dim to have a more translucent color, a more clear color, or a higher color like the rainbow with a halo. So I've included a spectrum of what this orb looks like as it morphs. And it always happens around the trees and around nature that this orb appears. I've seen it since 2022, and 2023. This is what a picture of this orb looks like. These are trees by my house where this orb appears. And again, it is translucent, so you can see through it, like clearly you can see the reflection of the trees as it is floating by in a very streamlined manner. And there's no kids, nobody around doing anything with bubbles. There's nobody blowing soap bubbles. So this is not a soap bubble. This thing travels in a uniform manner. It is streamlined. It can go higher or lower in the tree line or above it. I've seen it always at a higher angle with my eyes visually, and this is how it photographs. I don't know what it would look like on video. I haven't tried to do a video of it. This is the best I could do with somewhat zoomed in camera from my cell phone. It's the best I can do, honestly, what it looks like. This is what I've seen. I've been able to photograph it once. It doesn't come around every day. I've seen it like once a month or every couple of months, and it appears when I'm doing energetic work. And I'm going to talk about what I'm doing. That's the rainbow colored orb flying around in the trees. And the reason why I say rainbow is because you can see color reflections in it and around it. So it has a clear type of reflection and it has color reflection in it. It's quite interesting. So the rainbow colored orb has been flying around in the trees beside my house and observing as I have been removing the toxins and pollutants from the air to make the trees green again. This particular orb I have been seeing since 2022. The trees have been drying up in the area that I live due to weather changes, due to climate change, it being drier in the summers, with us not having enough rain in the Pacific Northwest. Particularly, these trees are close by the ocean, but in the summer we've had less rain and water starting around June, July, and August. So the trees have been drying up and they haven't been as lush as they were in previous years. Like, they've never had yellow bits on them ever since me moving to this place 5 years ago. And then the last year and a half, they've had yellow bits and they haven't been able to shed that naturally. So I've been doing different kinds of work to remove the dryness, the pollutants, the toxins from the air and from the water, and encourage more water and rain to come to the locations that need it, like these trees. And I do this about once a month, and that's when I see this orb come about. So I tap into 0 point energy frequency to purify the air in order to remove acid as well, and make sure the rainwater is fresh so the trees do not dry out, like what I have just been discussing with having drier conditions and not enough rain in the summers. I do some energetic work to help keep the trees healthier by purifying the air, the water, and encouraging rain where it is needed to give more nutrients to these trees. So I've called this particular orb the flying nimbus because it flies around in a streamed pattern. The color intensity on the orb changes as it flies around. It begins to be clear with a bit of a rainbow, then morphs into a brighter spectrum light with a full colored rainbow. It has been said that orbs are using potentially the inverted phantom matrix Merkaba to manifest themselves into physical reality. Orbs and spheres can have plasmatic energy signatures, so they might not look like see-through or be clear, or the orbs or spheres can be very clear with a translucent pattern. I know that this is not a soap bubble because the orb moves in a streamlined direction and it's just one orb, no other bubbles around it. So I don't think it's a soap bubble. These are just some images I found on the internet of the intensity of the color that this orb sometimes gets. These are not my pictures. These are not my pictures. These are just digitals of what orbs can look like. Some are purple, some are clear, some are translucent, some are opaque, and some orbs can even be photographed as being hazy lights and plasmatic frequency and energy. It depends which camera you're using, what light conditions you're in. When I took a photo of the orb, it was daylight. It was at 10 a.m. It was quite sunny, and we're in December 2023. This was a sunny day. It was a warmer day, and it was clear out. It was 10 a.m. when the sun was at its zenith. Peak, we had blue skies. It was a lovely day. I was just out in the backyard cleaning something up, and I was just kind of decided to do some looking around at the trees to see what their health is. And I see this Mr. Flying Nimbus shooting around in its streamlined way as it usually does. And like, I was texting somebody on my phone, so I had my phone with me in my pocket. I took it out. I was able to have this one picture as best as I could with my older phone. So this is what it looks like on when it flies by once a month. And especially it comes around when I'm doing the healing work with the trees and the air and the water, with the purification of the energies. Yeah, and people might say that looks like a soap bubble. It's not a soap bubble. Orbs can have different shapes, sizes, so can spheres. I've seen orbs. I've seen spheres in different places. In Kelowna as well, in 2017 when I was out there in the Okanagan. Spheres and orbs come around when paranormal events happen or something of a spiritual nature or healing. So they can appear at those times or when people need help with something. So I've had orbs appear when I've needed help and guidance. It's very special to see them and feel their energetic presence. Some people can even feel and sense orbs when they're around and they can see them. So it was very interesting to see this orb again and feel its energetic presence. And I was just lucky enough to take a photo. One photo, and that's it. That's all I had. It doesn't stick around for long. It's like a minute or so, and then it's gone. It appears and disappears. So it's sometimes it may stay like 4 minutes when I'm working with the trees. So it is quite an interesting phenomenon to see orbs. And if you're lucky enough to photograph one or a couple, that's amazing. Just to have a memory of what it looks like and feels like. Even the picture has a frequency of that. Thank you so much. Blessings.